Hello, everyone, and welcome to the April Recreational Astronomy Night meeting of the RASC Toronto Centre. My name is Paul Markov. I'll be your host for this evening and introducing the speakers. We are at the Ontario Science Centre in front of a live audience of about 20 people. For our online viewers, please join us in person next time if you can make it. And for those who are here tonight, thank you for braving the rainy and windy weather. Not very nice out there tonight. Now, for those who definitely cannot join us in the future, rest assured that the live broadcasts will continue. Thanks to our awesome AV team that's made up of Andrew and Betty Reed, and Ward Legros and Ennio Ciolucci. And at times we have other members who also assist with setting up this online show. In regards to upcoming meetings, our next meeting is May 1st. The Recreational Astronomy Night meeting is on May 1st. And this time around, I specifically did not coordinate any presentations. It's wide open, and the reason is I'm expecting people to come forward with solar eclipse presentations. So I'm gonna wait, see what happens after Monday for people to approach me who want to present. And if we have a lot of people wanting to present, there's a good chance we're going to skip the Sky This Month presentation that we typically do, so that there's more time for solar eclipse presentations. It'll be first come, first serve, and in the event that there are a lot of people who want to present, those eclipse presentations may spill into the June meeting as well. All right, so before we proceed with the lineup for this evening, I wanted to read you a quick email that came in this afternoon in regards to the solar eclipse and weather from one of our members, Frank Dempsey. Frank is an active Toronto Centre member. He's given several talks, but he's also works for Weather Canada. He's a weather forecaster. So we trust him a lot in what he tells us. And he wrote here that although the computer forecast model predicted a high pressure recently, like as late as yesterday, over southern Ontario, a new development is a low pressure storm, which is forecast to develop over the western US and then move eastward to the western Great Lake region on Monday. So total change from yesterday. Yesterday was nothing but sunshine. Now we've got this low front developing in west of us. So this is going to cause cloudiness to spread over southern Ontario ahead of a warm front associated with the low pressure. So how much cloud and how far eastward over southern Ontario can be accurately estimated yet, since the low does not exist yet. We ought to get a better idea after the low develops and strengthens over the central US during Saturday. So one consequence is that Monday's high pressure ridge and region with clear skies east of the ridge is likely to get moved eastward from southern Ontario. So in fact, if you look at the weather for London, Ontario now, for Monday, they're predicting rain. Toronto, Niagara Falls, cloudy. Belleville, a mix of sun and cloud. Further eastward, I didn't look, but probably clear. So as usual, the clouds are coming in from the west. So fingers crossed that this low pressure is slow, stays away, and it doesn't engulf all of Ontario all the way to Quebec, right? All right, so that's the latest that we have. Now, speakers for this evening are Andy Beaton will present the Sky This Month, followed by Joel Dick, and he'll talk to us about Jewish astronomy and the Hebrew calendar. And then we have Ralph Chu, who will tell us about the EC-CAR Astronomical Observatory, which is the Toronto Centre's own observatory up on Blue Mountain. And then we'll have Tom Luton, our president, close the meeting with announcements, and we should be done around 9:30. If you're watching us online and have a question, please enter it in the chat box, and Ennio will ask the question on your behalf to the speaker. And in the room, if you have a question, put your hands up and I'll come over to you with a microphone. So you speak into the microphone and people online can hear your question as well. Do we have anybody here for the first time, whether you're a member or not? Just wondering. We have 3, 4 people. Welcome. Very good. Hope you enjoy the presentations. And also, if you're watching us online for the first time, please let us know through the chat box as well. So let's get the meeting started with Andy and the Sky This Month.
My name's Andy Beaton. I observe the horribly polluted skies of downtown Toronto, and once again, I'm here to talk about the sky this month. People who have heard me talk before will probably recognize most of this list. The big picture, key dates coming up. This time, I've thrown in a little bit on the eclipse. Then we have the moon, the planets, something in the deep sky. I always like to throw in a double star, and it wouldn't be my presentation if we didn't talk about a variable star, and then whatever's coming up in the world of spaceflight over the next month. So starting off with the big picture, tonight around 9:30, if we could look through the clouds, this is what we'd be seeing. Our favorite winter constellations are sinking into the west just after twilight. Taurus is just above the horizon, Orion and Gemini following behind. You may notice that whatever planets we get, we've got Jupiter and Uranus there just above the horizon, and that's about all we're seeing there in the sky tonight for planets. A month from now, we get up at 4:30 in the morning, just before twilight starts. We do get to see some more planets. We get to see our favorite summer constellations coming up. We've got Scorpius and Sagittarius there, and the Summer Triangle, and even Pegasus showing up just on the horizon. And we've got a few planets coming in the morning. If you're a keen planetary observer, this will be the best time of the month. So important dates coming up. April 8th is obviously the one everybody's watching for. It's also the date of the new moon. So once you're finished looking at the eclipse, you can set up your telescope and do some good dark sky observing later. The moon is at apogee on April 20th and perigee on April 7th. I always like to encourage people to take pictures of the moon at those two times and compare the two images so you can see how the further and closer distances are reflected by the size they appears in the sky. Full moon is on April 23rd, and on April 22nd we have the Lyrid meteor shower. So April 8th, I've thrown in an extra, this is what the sky is going to look like, and it is, you can see the moon is being highlighted there since you can't see the sun. And we can also see a bunch of planets. In theory, we should be able to see all the planets, assuming that the sky gets dark enough. We also should be able to see a bunch of the winter constellations showing up around there. It'd be an interesting scientific experiment to see how bright stars you can see and how close they are to the eclipsed sun. So we've thrown in a map here of where the path of the eclipse is going. You can see it's just passing through our neighborhood in the later part of the eclipse. So we are not getting the maximum length of the eclipse. That's happening down in Mexico. But here we have the path of the eclipse in our neighborhood. As we can see, if you live in Toronto or Ottawa, you're out of luck. If you're in Montreal, you're better off. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to travel. I will throw in the warning I've been giving to everybody I've been talking to for the past 3 months. If you need to travel, get there early because traffic is going to be a nightmare. Assuming you're in Niagara Falls, that's the closest place that I think most people in Toronto are going to try and get to. The partial eclipse starts at 4 after 2 daylight savings time. Total begins at 3:18 and goes to 3:21, and the partial one ends around 4:30. So Times for Toronto will be similar. So if you're planning to at least look out the window and see what's happening, this is a rough idea of what times you should be thinking of. So this is the time of year. Nights are getting shorter. Astronomical twilight's ending at 9:15 tonight, starts again at 4:55 in the morning. By the next meeting, astronomical twilight will be ending at around 10 and starting again at 3:50 in the morning. This is all daylight savings time. So if you're doing your long-term imaging, be prepared to be inconvenienced by the sun. We have the moon phases, first quarter on the 15th, April 32nd. But one day I'm going to have one of these things and it's not going to have a typo in it. That's April 22nd. Thank you very much. Last quarter on May 1st and the new moon on April 8th. Obviously, the new moon is causing the eclipse. Something to note is it's also one day off the moon's closest approach. So this is going to be one of the longest eclipses we get because the moon is going to be just about as large as it gets, kind of an anti-supermoon. The next lunar X, April 15th, starting around 11:50 in the evening. For those who don't know, the lunar X is a feature on the moon. It's two craters side by side, and at a certain point every month, the sun hits it at just the right angle, so it looks like there's an X on the moon. Scientifically, not interesting, but it looks neat. And I like things that look neat. The lunar straight wall, Rupus recta, is another lunar feature where when you get the sunlight coming in at a certain angle, it also looks neat. And April 17th will be the time to look for that. Planetary highlights, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Mercury is disappearing late in the month. It'll show up again in the morning. Venus, we're not going to see it at all this month. It's just too close to the sun, although we might see it during the eclipse. Keep that caveat in mind. In the morning, Mars will be appearing later on in the month and getting better as the month progresses. Unlike Mercury, it improves over time and doesn't disappear again. The big showpiece planets, Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter is low in the west at sunset, and as the month goes along, it's going to get further and further away. Saturn is low in the morning twilight, but as the month goes on, it'll rise earlier and earlier and be better suited for viewing. I wouldn't put a lot of effort into seeing either of them this month. They're never going to be very high. The atmosphere is going to mess them up. There are probably better things to see. The ice giants, same problem. It's just a lousy month for planets. Uranus is still visible in the evening, but it'll be disappearing. Neptune slowly appearing in the morning, but they're dim. They're going to be close to the sun. Once again, I wouldn't bother showing up for either of them. The dwarf planets, Pluto and Ceres. Pluto is rising in the morning. By the beginning of May, should be visible before twilight. It's getting further and further away from the Milky Way, so it should be a more interesting target, easier to find. It's always tough visual. I would recommend trying to take pictures of the area with as much time as you can manage and look for that little dot moving. Ceres is rising ahead of Pluto. It's around 8th magnitude and should be visible in binoculars. Eris, no, we're not going to try that this month. I like to throw in a bit of deep sky stuff. In the spring sky, popular target, we have Markarian's chain. String of galaxies on the Virgo, Coma, Berenice's border. Here, that's what it looks like, more or less. 8 gravitationally linked galaxies, 4 singles, M84 and 86, NGC 4473 and 4477, and then 2 pairs of linked galaxies, the eyes and 4458 and 4461. All of them should be visible in a 4-inch scope under reasonably dark sky. Under a downtown city sky, you might get M84 and M86, but I wouldn't want to promise anything. This is more or less what it looks like. The bright 2 in the middle are the eyes. The brighter 2 to the lower right on my screen here, lower right, are M84 and M86. If you have children to entertain, there's a small galaxy and a star that makes a face that you can show them in the telescope. Now, I know many of the people here are looking for something more challenging than a couple of galaxies. There are a lot of other faint galaxies in this region, some of them related to the group, some not. The eyes are interesting. You can see that they're distorting each other through the gravitational interaction. And with an excellent telescope and an excellent night, or even with long-term imaging, you may be able to see matter, the bridge connecting the two. The other interesting thing that comes up with M84 is elliptical galaxies tend not to have supernova, but M84 has had 3 of them in the past few decades, which is weird and unusual. If you're the kind of person who likes to check galaxies every night to see if there's a supernova there, M84 would be an interesting target because it's a puzzle why it's having so many. Let's see, comets and meteors. Starting with the meteors, we have the Lyrid shower coming up on April 22nd, 20 meteors an hour. Not bad, very close to the full moon, bad. We have a minor meteor shower of the Pi Pupids. That one is likely visible further south than here. The place it's appears to come from the sky is way below the horizon for us. Number of stars is variable. I've thrown it in there because I know for a fact that sometimes we get Southern Hemisphere observers listening in on this talk. So I hope this is of use to them. Meteor dribbles, the Alpha Virginids, the Kappa Serpentids, the H Virginids, all little tiny showers, maybe 1 or 2 an hour. Autocorrect has corrected the Serpentids to serpents for me, which I appreciate very much. I wouldn't bother looking for any of these, but if you're out and you see a meteor during any of these periods, try tracing it back and see if you've got one of these rare and obscure showers. Now, comets, obviously the big one that everyone's talking about is 12P Pons-Brooks, currently reported at 4.7th magnitude in Aries, may be visible at sunset, may be visible during an eclipse. Try finding it under any possible circumstances. This is the brightest one we've had for a good long time. I have not been able to see it because of clouds and buildings around my home. I hope some of you have. We have 13P Olbers, 10th magnitude in Taurus, C2021 S3 Pan-Stars in Vulpecula. That's going to be a nice one in the morning, be right up and high in the sky. C2023 A3 Tsuchinshan, I hope I pronounced that right, Atlas, 11.2 in Virgo, and 62P Tsuchinshan, 11.4 in Virgo. So obviously, Pons-Brooks is the ones that people are going to be excited about. If you've seen it, comment on the YouTube channel. I'd be curious to know. We're still in solar cycle 25. Solar activity is on the rise. We should be seeing more sunspots and more prominences than usual. We should be seeing more aurora. A friend of mine was up in Yellowknife last week and took this image. with a camera phone, so this is bright. So if you get a chance to look for aurora, keep an eye out at spaceweather.com for maps and up-to-date forecasts. I want to look at that just for another second. I really like that. So double star, have to have a double star. Cor Caroli or Alpha Canis Venatici, or the first star of the Imperial Guards if you happen to be observing from China. A 2.9 and 5.6 magnitude pair, blue and green. The Observer's Handbook gives them 3 exclamation marks for being an excellent and beautiful pair. I couldn't find anything of particular scientific interest, but once again, it's nice to look at. I think we concentrate an awful lot on what is scientifically interesting, and sometimes we should just go and look at the sky and admire how beautiful it is. So we have to have a variable star. T Corona Borealis. This is a recurrent nova which went into outburst in 1946. It should be coming up sometime within this year when it goes from 10th to 2nd magnitude and turns into the brightest, if not the brightest star, one of the brightest stars in that constellation. It's one of those situations where you have a red dwarf dumping material onto, having material dumped onto it by its companion red giant. And as it turns out, it's stripping the material off in a nice consistent rate, so you get a regular, predictable outburst. This is one where it will be of intense scientific interest. Professional astronomers, however, don't have time to sit there watching it. They are counting on you and I, the amateur astronomers of the world, to keep an eye on it. If you see it, go to the American Association of Variable Star Observers website, aavso.org, and report it. That's where people will be watching to see when it happens. That will be your chance to contribute to science. And on a similar note, this one just showed up in my mailbox yesterday. SS Cygni. Dr. Mariko Kimura is asking for our assistance in monitoring that star so that they can coordinate observations with the XRISM satellite. Another one of those situations where you can't have your satellite just sit there waiting for this thing to happen. They're counting on you and I to monitor that star, and when they see it happening, report it and get that satellite pointing there to gather the data. So coming up, we have spaceflight highlights. Rocket Lab Electron launching a solar sail test on April 24th. The Boeing Starliner first crewed flight to the ISS on May 1st. April 18th until the next meeting, we have ISS morning passes. And once again, heavensabove.com for times and locations. And if it's cloudy, the Event Horizon Telescope is showing new images. This is the one that caught my eye. This is the black hole in the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A star, in polarized light. And what that's showing us is there are intense magnetic fields around the black hole in the center of our galaxy, which is kind of interesting. And what if it's cloudy, like it's been for 6 months? Zooniverse.org is my go-to place for citizen science projects. A few I've picked this month are Backyard Worlds, looking for brown dwarfs, superluminous supernova in other galaxies, Redshift Wrangler, analyzing redshifts from distant objects, and Solar Jet Hunter. There is a Zooniverse app available for iOS and Android. I don't know about BlackBerry. So just a final note, more eclipse information. I know people are going to want this. Check this video out on YouTube so you don't have to write it down now. You can come back later and get those links. That's where I've been getting all the eclipse information I've been passing on. Or type 2024 eclipse into your favorite search engine. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them offline. Any typos other than the obvious ones that I've already caught myself on, contact me there. And thanks very much.
So speaking
We
of
have
Mars,
questions.
when would be the best time to image it?
Not this month. I would hang on for 3 or 4 months and wait for it to get high enough and far enough away from the sun that you're going to be able to get a decent image of it. I would wait for well into the summer, yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions in the room? No? Online?
We have questions online.
Nothing online?
Good evening, everyone. So Victor O. Jung starts us off with questions with, does RESC Toronto still have deep sky star parties at Long Sault monthly? Followed by Frank Dempsey then replying with, Long Sault Conservation Area. Is it still illegal to use at night, or is the parking lot closed at dusk?
That's an excellent question. I haven't been out to Long Sault in a long time, so I don't think I have an honest answer to that. I suppose somebody could look it up, and if anybody is ever out in the Long Sault area, take a look and see if they are locking it up on us.
Thank you. So Frank Dempsey next has the remainders are comments. Frank Dempsey comments with, Comet 12P Pons Brooks is just a bright fuzzball visually, but might be interesting in the dark sky. Frank also says, KCRB is a good excuse to glance up at Corona Borealis constellation every clear night.
Yeah, actually, the cool thing about T Corona Borealis is you are going to be able to see that one with the naked eye. You don't need to haul your telescope out. You don't even need to have a pair of binoculars. You can see second magnitude stars anywhere in downtown Toronto, just about, as long as you're not right under a streetlight. So it would be an excellent project just to go out there and take a look every night while you're walking the dog or going out to buy donuts. Just have a look and see if that constellation has changed shape.
Eric Briggs comments, Dr. Chant observed a solar eclipse from Colorado, apologies if I butchered that, on June 8th, 1918, and that night there was a very bright nova called the Victory Star. What are the odds of T Corona Borealis going off on this eclipse day?
Oh, excellent question. I hope it's 100%. I would say the odds of, well, if it's going to be between now and September, we're talking about 5 months, 150 days. So I don't know, 5 days between now and then, out of 150, 1 in 30 chance, 3% chance just off the top of my head. How's that?
Awesome. And that's our questions.
Thanks very much.